Hey folks, it's Florida Deere. Thanks for joining me today. Today we're going to be talking about John Deere's 455 as evidence of one that I have here that's my personal tractor. And so we're going to be going over the specs, the history, capability of the tractor, and what it can do for you if you decide that you're in the market for a tractor similar to this. And we'll get started right now. Okay, some of the history of this tractor. It was available from 1993 to 2001, and this particular one is a 1997. When they first came out, they all had tires that were this size, which was 23 by 10.5 on the rear, 12-inch rims, and 8-inch rims up front. I believe they were all 16 by 7.5. Now, if you got a 455 later, then I don't know when the cutoff time was, but I think it was probably in like 96 or 97, but somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, and if I find that data, I'll put it in there. They went to 26 by 12 by 12 tires, and then 18 by 8.5 eighths up front. This particular one, despite being a 97, and I believe they had moved to the larger tires by this time, this particular one is an all-wheel steer. So they continued to come with the smaller tires, and that was mostly based on clearance issues that they had with the tires, scraping the all-wheel drive, or rather all-wheel steering parts. This particular series did not have an all-wheel drive. It did come, it was the first one with an all-wheel steer as far as John Deere went. And this one, to me, was the giant leap forward. Now, I hope I don't offend any people that have a 430 or 420, but to me, this one came with the pedal hydros you see right here. And that, to me, made it a lot easier to function. They also had levers that were removed from, instead of the side over here, they were positioned up here. Now, I don't know that that was a big deal, but that was one of the features. The power steering was done in slightly a different way. It just is an overall more ergonomic tractor than the 420 or 430, and that was the predecessor to this one. So that one was available up to 1992. These are a little bit smaller than that one by a good bit. I want to say the wheelbase on this is about 49 and change if it's an all-wheel steer, and it's about a little over 50 inches if it's a two-wheel steer. So we'll get into some of the features. It did come with a traction lock rear end, so if you push that button down with your foot, you can engage the traction lock on the rear differential. It also came with H2, two hydraulic circuits. Now that was sort of a downgrade from the 420 and 430 for whatever reason. They offered H3s, and it was interesting because this is the first that has basically onboard hydraulics for the loader, and we'll get into that a little bit later. And the other ones did not. You had to run a separate pump off of those, but you could actually run them off this tractor. So another one of the features was the 3-point hitch. Obviously, you can get a 3-point hitch on this, and so that's pretty cool. And I don't have one here, but I'll show you one. This one was capable of installing a 3-point, or not a 3-point, but rather a rear PTO that was 540 RPM. So this would be the first tractor, the first garden tractor that John Deere offered that came with a 540 PTO. And of course, with a 540 PTO, you could run a lot of different assortments of 3-point equipment that you couldn't with the old 2000 RPM rear PTO. That was going to be subject to particular implements or attachments that were specific to only running at the 2000 RPM, which was basically only garden tractor stuff, and is actually pretty hard to find. You can get like tillers, and I want to say pull behind not rotary tillers, but grass cutters, mower decks and stuff, pull behind mower decks that you can get that aren't belly mowers, obviously. But those things, are just really extremely hard to find. So I think going to the 540 PTO did free it up for a lot of like more, quote unquote, modern attachments, modern PTO driven equipment. So I think that was helpful. As mentioned before, It does come with the all-wheel steer. Not all of them came with all-wheel steer, but quite a few of them come with all-wheel steer. Allegedly, you're not allowed to run a loader. They don't have it set up to where you can run the John Deere 40 loader with all-wheel steer. But of course, people have made modifications to make that possible. I think probably Deere did that, probably because some of the hardware changes, and maybe it was just, you know, potentially a lot more unstable to have, you know, an all-wheel steer tractor with something that, you know, raises several hundred pounds high in the air. Probably creates a fair amount of instability. I can tell you that's the one thing that you have to get used to on an all-wheel steer is when you go around corners, you can zip around corners pretty quickly. So you do have to kind of get used to that. I can only imagine what that would be like with a loader. And it does have like basically a front bar for weights. You can fit 5 suitcase weights on there, so well in excess of 200 pounds easily. You can see that's a heavy-duty axle, which of course no doubt you would get on a tractor like this. And I'll get into some of the particular specs of this next. So this comes with Yanmar's 881cc 3-cylinder diesel engine. The 425 and 445, which are similar to this tractor, run Kawasaki V-twins that are gas. This one is, you know, a 3-cylinder diesel, pretty big diesel too. I mean, that's almost 0.9 liters. And of course it's liquid cooled, as you can see there. And this one is a pretty stout beast. I mean, this thing can run for thousands of hours and just keep going with, you know, pretty good routine maintenance. It does not take much to keep them going. And they barely sip fuel. They're really good at doing what they do. All right, so what you see here is the Tough Torque K91 hydraulic unit, which is also the transmission on the tractor. So this provides 1,000 PSI of hydraulic pressure. That can be adjusted. I think up to 1,500 is what they might allow. I have my other tractor adjusted up to like 1,150, and you can do that by shimming the one valve that's on top of the transmission. That would definitely be another video. It also allows for about 4.6 GPM flow rate for the hydraulics. So it does perform pretty well. I've used this system not on this tractor but on a 445 with the John Deere 40 loader and also a hydraulic tiller. Both of them performed really well. And so another stat that this thing has is it's about 965 pounds with just the tractor. That is not including the deck, or in this case the ballast box. And that is the 2-wheel steer. So the 4-wheel steer is actually about another 95 pounds, coming in at 1,060 pounds without any attachments on all of it. So this thing is an absolute beast, as well as the rest of the 4X5 series. Is really truly a really nice tractor to work on. It really just is, you know, a delight to use in the yard. One of the other things, as you can see here, is the suspension seat. You get these on the 445 and 455. They make the operation station a lot easier on your back. They're just so much better than the springy seats that some of the other ones come with. The 425 unfortunately comes with a springy seat, but that's not your deluxe model. The 445 and 455 are. So the last thing I wanted to cover was some of the attachments that you can use on this thing. And that would be obviously the 54-inch deck that I have. And that was like your mid-grade deck, because you could get a 48-inch, which I always think was probably too small for a tractor this size. But you can also get a giant 60-inch deck. Now the 60-inch deck was substantially heavier duty than the other two. Very beefy, 300 pounds, basically commercial grade type deck, beefy as could be. Also cut great. It was a fantastic cutting deck. This one is not bad. I just think that the 60-inch was just a phenomenally great deck to operate. The other thing you can use on it is you can use a front snow blade. You can operate a snow blower off of these things. They have mechanical tillers that you can use if you have the 540 PTO rear setup already on there, which can be pricey. You can also use a 42-inch hydraulic tiller. I have a couple videos, if you search my video file on those, where you can see those too. And one of the things that I really liked was the John Deere 40 loader. It can use a CTC loader as well if you can't find a John Deere 40. And I was thinking mosquito is trying to get me. And but anyways, that'd be something I would look into. If you use one of those loaders, I would recommend adjusting the hydraulic pressure. I take no blame if something happens with the hydraulic unit, but it probably won't, because I think, again, they're underrated from the factory. So I think you can actually you know, beef them up pretty good, and they'll lift quite a bit more, you know, when they have the pressure upped quite a bit. So I think that is one thing that these are, you know, if you're looking for a serious tractor for your lawn and garden work, and you want to do some small minor like utility tractor type things, like use a loader or tiller or something, then these tractors are really should be on your list to at least consider. They will cost a bit more, even despite their age, because if you know they have the diesel engine, and because they're a really good platform that you have a lot of attachments available for them, they can command anywhere from, like, you know, $1,000 to $2,000 to up to like maybe, you know, $4,000 or $5,000 for just the tractor and a deck. Maybe more in some markets, but I would suspect to pay somewhere between like 2 and 4, maybe 5 for these things in good condition. Obviously, this one I got in for about $1,900. I did need to do a fair amount of work on it. You can check the videos on that as well. But anyway, this should be at the top of your list if you're looking for a good long-term tractor to use. And again, I just have really good experience with the 4X5 series. I've owned all 3 of them at one point or another, and I've loved every one that I've owned. To me, they're the perfect size to be very maneuverable in a yard, but they have the heavy-duty features that make it really a standout for what you can get for your money, and the longevity that they have as well. Okay, folks, well, the mosquitoes are eating me alive at this point, and I've pretty much covered, I think, all the stuff I need to cover. So I will bid you a farewell. If you did like this video, I'd appreciate you hitting the like button, or if you learned something, if it was useful in your tractor search, then that'd be great. And if you wanted to see more videos about tractors similar to this or my 1 Series tractor, then you can hit the subscribe button as well. And hey, thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Bye.